Hello and welcome to I Have Questions. I'm Sam.
I'm Alex.
And let's talk about some Christmas movies that we like but still have a couple problems with.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
One of these, in fairness, we had actually not seen. It had been so long since I'd seen Gremlins, it practically didn't matter. It was like seeing it new again, because I don't even remember that there was a tiny Corey Feldman in this.
Yeah, I know, but he's a negligible character, so that's fair.
Yeah, they leave him to do his own thing.
Yeah. So today's docket, we have Gremlins, and then we have Krampus, and then we have Rare Exports, which I hadn't seen until Alex told me about.
It had been sitting on my periphery for a while. Like, it sounded just interesting. And we'll get to that one, obviously.
But actually, like, a lot of people, because there's, like, the whole genre of Christmas horror that I didn't even know about, but Rare Exports is pretty high up on the list for... So, first we're talking about Gremlins, which is a 1984 movie directed by Joe Dante.
Not born.
Yeah, Alex wasn't born. Obviously, neither was I.
Yes, by 1 year. A different theme that...
Christmas classic, honestly.
True. I mean... I can't say I've ever watched it for Christmas though, but it is one of those films that I do remember with some level of like, this is fun. Not any type of horror. Even as a kid, because like some movies like terrified me as a kid that weren't horror movies, like Who Framed Roger Rabbit, and only because of the scene with Dune in it, where it's just like, and he talked just like this. Like that terrified me. This movie definitely has the undercurrent of camp, and most of the jokes are written as homages.
Yeah. So I mean, it is the 80s, so they did do a lot of... the 80s had a lot of, like, we're referencing older times and older movies kind of thing.
But this is just straight up 90% of it.
Yeah.
That's nuts how much of it is that. Because it makes a left turn, I think.
Have you forgotten Casper?
That movie doesn't exist. You keep talking about this thing. You made me record something about it. I assumed it was the comic book. I don't recall.
Yeah.
So it starts out with our inventor dude, Rand, the dad.
He is an inventor who's not really successful. Like, things he makes, they work, but only for a short amount of time. But he's more of like a used car salesman than an inventor, because he's always like, he has his pitch and he's trying to sell stuff. And it's like, because even when he's like, he can't contact his family, but he's like still going for that sale though.
It's part of the joke, like, because that was the joke of the ongoing pressure of the car salesman, essentially. Like, almost every character is a cipher of some like joke that came from a generation before in movies and references on there. So Rand is the dad who tries his best, and he's not sleazy. He's actually really heartfelt on it, but he's just down on his luck.
He actually, like, I like him because he believes in his inventions. That's why he's trying to sell them. He's not giving it up. So it's not like he's not, like you said, he's not a sleazy salesman. He's just not a good salesman.
No.
And not that great of an inventor, to be completely honest.
He did have that proto-Keurig.
Oh yeah, he did. That's true. And he made the pocket.
The bathroom buddy?
The bathroom buddy thing is not really...
Yeah, it's
a thing that works. But the coffee maker, the juicer, the portable phone, what was the other one he had? He had like the electric hammer that he made.
Yeah, which we do have now, but it doesn't have Nixie tubes attached to it.
Yeah, I mean, he's just like, he's inventing these things out of his garage. He doesn't have a lab.
But anyway, he ends up in Chinatown. Somehow, somewhere. Because it's definitely not his town, because their town is...
Well, he travels a lot to sell his stuff.
That's true.
So he's probably in
L.A.
or New York or something.
Yeah. Manages to harangue, or the shop owner's son decides to underhandedly sell him this mythical creature that meets no other taxonomy that we could classify, and everyone's just endeared by it.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's just nobody questions. It's just like, I'm looking through the encyclopedia. I can't really find the Mogwai anywhere. So I always thought that was really interesting how they just, this creature exists. I've never seen it before. It's not even in any books. But yeah, sure.
Dad's even so down on his luck, you think would have been like, if I can get that, I'm sure I can find someone I can actually sell it to.
I mean, he does think about selling it later, but I mean, we'll get to how I feel about
When
that.
he's dumb.
Yeah,
when it's too.
but
When
Grandpa, well, his name is Mr. Wing. I'm sorry, I can't say it without laughing. Mr. Wing definitely sounds like, oh, what Chinese name can we make up?
is it just Win? The NGU?
No, it's Wing. They fill him up with a bunch of fortune cookie phrases. And of course with great, and I was like, the Mogwai come with great responsibility. Like he has that like Uncle Ben phrase. He says it quite a bit in the movie too.
Yeah. Well, it's also the trope of the Chinese
wise man,
mystic dude who also comes in out of nowhere. It's hard not to talk about this film and not talk about every character's tropes, but yeah.
Oh my god, so many tropes.
But that's the whole point of the film. Like the whole film is nothing but homage, and in that regard, it knows exactly what it's trying to be.
Yeah, you have the old guy who's like, oh, I trust American products, no foreign products here. But he's also a conspiracy theorist.
Yep.
Which they're like, oh, it's the Gremlins, just like, what did they say, Mr. Butterman?
Oh yeah.
So he's called Mr. Butterman, and they're like, oh, it's the Gremlins, just like Mr. Butterman said. And I was like, no, Mr. Butterman said something about creatures that control radio waves and in your phone and get into your ear and stuff. And I was like, I don't think he was talking about the creatures that you guys are talking about.
He meant some kind of amorphous thing.
Yeah, so he's just a conspiracy theorist. Then you have the dad that's like, he's the used car salesman. He's down on his luck right now, but he just needs that one chance. Then you have the mom who's super supportive and homey and just like, everything is gonna be okay. And I was like, I don't really know how old the son is, because obviously he's not in school.
He's a bank teller.
He's a bank teller, so he's not like, you know, he's not a student.
Yeah. He's at least out of high school.
This town is like super, like all the tropes of a small town. The lazy police officers, because nothing ever happens around here. Like this town is everyone's happy, things are going well, but also
to make it more comedic when shit hits the fan.
But the girl he likes,
yeah,
you know, she actually, I wrote this on my notes, she actually hits on a good point in the movie, because she's like, not everybody's happy during the holidays. Like actually, like during the holidays has the highest suicide rate, because a lot of people are lonely and sad, you know, during the holidays, because that just kind of amplifies it more when you're alone, and you're alone on the holidays when everybody's getting together. And she doesn't like it, and she's like, I don't like Christmas because of that. And it's clearly like she's saying, hey, something really bad happened to her during Christmas time, like she needs some help. And he's like, why don't you like Christmas? I'm just like, obviously she's reaching out right now.
Don't give it that much credit.
But the sad part about it is the story that she gives. I'm like, oh, way to ruin it. The story that she told about why she doesn't. I mean, I understand it. Like it's pretty fair why you don't like it.
Yeah.
But it's just the way that they framed it, and I was just like,
that's intentional.
Yeah, it was.
Well, it's all.
Yeah.
It's like everything.
It's all supposed to be funny, yeah, but.
Well, it's also supposed to be like an homage to the black humor of the 1950s.
That's true, yeah.
As well, which like can come in through. So like really this is a dark comedy. Like,
yeah.
It's really not even a horror film. It has some horror tropes in it, but then it just goes camp.
When I was a kid, I found the gremlin creatures really scary, but like obviously they're not really. I mean, they're it's cute. Yeah. Little puppets, and then kind of scary-ish puppets.
And then they act like jackasses half the film.
So that's the thing. It's not what they do that's scary. Because it's
our like, Flashdance homage.
Yeah.
So he gets the Mogwai home, gives it as a gift to his kid, Oran does, and outlines the rules that he heard from the shop owner's son.
Everyone keeps forgetting.
Which are no bright lights, that'll kill them, and especially the sun, because it will really kill them. No feeding after midnight. It's really arbitrary. And I do appreciate that. I think the second film makes a point to take the piss out of that. And then no water.
Yeah.
No water.
Which they're just like, oh, look, he spawned some other ones. How can this thing be bad?
Which they can drink. But they can drink it.
No, they can't drink it.
They drink beer. Beer has water in it.
Well, yeah, but they're already the bad ones.
But we established that the bad ones are still trying to get to water. That's how we get the mass of them.
True.
So it's like...
Yeah, I mean, this movie...
Yeah.
It's not really that thought through.
That's fair.
But yeah, so...
And in fairness, it doesn't matter. I mean, the movie is making some effort for it, but it's because it's establishing the rules so you can see when the movie is going to break them. It makes it a point to outline it twice before any of the shit really hits the fan. And that's for the audience's sake. So the movie is definitely good at doing its setup. It respects the audience in that. It's like, we got to keep it away from water. And of course, shit happens. We see the consequences of that. And that's when,
Yeah, Corey Feldman's also in this. In case.
yeah, no,
What?
yeah, tiny Corey Feldman. Not that you remember. Or anything else he's been in. Besides,
Lost Boys.
it's okay.
I mean, but it's not a good movie, but
Yeah.
everybody knows it. The first time they start popping out, it's 5 of them, and then they turn out to be not as nice as Gizmo, because Gizmo is adorable and loving. It's super cute. And I actually had a Furby that looked like Gizmo, because that was a thing back then. Furbies, which are terrifying toy. If you were young enough to know what a Furby was, you know the horror of being woken up in the middle of the night by a Furby.
They still make them.
They still make them. Well, but they're not as terrifying now.
They're still pretty fucking terrifying, trust me.
But it's just like, those things used to, because they were just like, it's like they're alive. And then they would wake up in the middle of the night and start talking and freak you the fuck out.
Yeah, because the IR sensors were really sensitive.
Yeah. It's just like, all it took was like one little movement while you're sleeping. Of course, most people were like, it's a doll, so I'll keep it near my bed. Bad idea. Very bad idea. But yeah.
Not as nice as Gizmo. And they're very plotty. They're very good at coming up with sinister plots. Because
Billy is
tricked.
A cookie cutter small town boy.
Yeah. Nice guy. Has a dickhead friend or coworker.
Yeah, who we don't really see later. It's just like, I mean, it would have been a fun little comeuppance if we saw something happen to him.
I mean, it's Judge Reinhold. It's like I gotta play 80s power businessman now.
Oh yeah, and I wrote that in my notes because he's like, "Hey, come over to my new place. I got cable," and I'm just like, "Woohoo!"
So sleazy.
It's like cable. It's like, what was cable in 1985?
Everything apparently.
No.
We hit just airwaves for the most part.
Yeah.
A lot of people were still rocking like antennae.
Exactly. So after he sees the things multiply, then he's like, "Oh, I'll take it to the science teacher."
Finally.
It's just like, I mean, like, because they did it in Stranger Things too, but like that science teacher was actually pretty freaking cool. This science teacher, I was like, I don't know anything about him. And he's like, "Oh, we'll take him to the science teacher, see if we can do some experiments." Maybe that's an 80s trope of every science teacher wants to be a real scientist, and like, this is going to be my new discovery. Why?
If I was that science teacher, I probably would have taken the creature and just legged it to an actual research facility.
He's like, does the research at the school, which obviously backfires. And I wrote, yeah, of course, yeah. The black man is always the first one to die. Scary movie.
As is tradition. Well, I don't know if that was a tradition yet, but anyway.
Might as well be.
That's true. So he gets tricked by the other gremlins because he creates one for the scientist specifically by wetting Gizmo at the lab. But he gets tricked by the other 5
into feeding him at midnight.
Yep, because they nod the wire on the clock, and even when they become pupae or whatever, although they kept saying pupil,
pupils, yeah,
which is weird.
Yeah, pupae.
It's like pupae. He's like, "Mom, what's going on?" It's like clearly the wire's been not cut, but gnawed or something.
And he doesn't even notice that till the next day.
But yeah, so he gets tricked. They enter their pupae state, and then they end up hatching later on that evening. He ends up going by to find out how the scientist is doing after all that, after the metamorphosis.
Finds him
dead.
Yeah.
Probably dead.
No, he's definitely dead.
Oh, yeah. And my first instinct...
But he doesn't check, though.
He doesn't check, doesn't call the cops either. It's like, there's a...
Yeah, because he goes to talk to the cops later. He's trying to convince them. And I'm like, all right, maybe you should bring up the dead scientist. Then things would be a little bit... Yeah. Science teacher. Then they would be like, oh, at least we can check it out. And find out that his face was maybe clawed off or something. Yeah.
There's claw marks over the ventilation shafts and all the small openings in the place.
And it's not like you guys have raccoons in this town.
Not raccoons that can tear through, like, sheet metal.
And shit. You know? Yeah. But yeah, Mom is super awesome. Mom is just like, I don't know what's happening, but I gotta kill these guys. And just, the kitchen turns into like fucking death trap for them.
0 to 100, loved it.
Yeah, I honestly one of the best scenes.
She hears shit going on in the attic because she's already seeing the pupae, but she was like a little bit off put by them already.
They turn on the record player. Then she like looks up, like she has this look of just like, time to defend my home. Just like, I don't know what's going on, but time to defend my home right now. Sees them in the kitchen. like she sees one in the, I guess the
Cake
blender
mixer,
machine that he
the
made, and
mixer.
just turns it on immediately.
Fries it.
She fries the one in the blender. She
stabs one to death.
She stabs one to death. She puts one in the microwave. What happens to the other one? Oh, the other one dies on the Christmas tree. That's when they come in. Billy kills that one.
Son finally comes in, grabs his sword off the wall, which they did show earlier. Good setup. And he golf clubs the head off its shoulders
into the fire, that was a really creepy scene because they showed it like screaming.
Yeah, it's great.
But
yeah.
So the one that's like the leader is called Stripe.
Yeah.
Because he has the tuft of white hair, a stripe of white hair that goes down his head, and he's obviously the evil one.
And they're all pretty.
Yeah, they're all pretty evil, but
or neutral.
But he
just bumbling.
Yeah, but I mean, compared to Gizmo,
That's
he's
fair.
the evil one. So he then goes to a YMCA and jumps in the pool, and then multiplies to about 100 Mogwai, and then they just wreak havoc upon the town.
A lot of the conspiracy guy gets killed, run over by his own snowplow.
Yeah, his snowplow, who was just like, "Oh, this is my American machine that never fails me."
The
like,
Gremlins.
Oh, but it's failed you now.
Irony.
He's like, "Oh, the Gremlins, I was right." Right before he dies. I don't remember him dying. I don't know.
Well, they said, the cops get a call on it later, and it's like, oh, it was a terrible accident. And it's just like, it's like that. How,
I guess they're both dead in that one.
Yeah. Miss, whatever her name is, Deagle gets ejected because somehow
from her electric chair.
Because the Gremlins are electrical engineers now.
Well, no, they just kind of they bite the wires and then push them back together, which
they somehow know to do.
Mm. Well, they tried it on the clock and it worked. But yeah, so Miss Deagle dies, which is like, I mean, it would be kind of a your comeuppance kind of thing if they hadn't killed the sort of innocent people before that.
Yeah.
But because they killed her later after they killed the harmless crazy old guy, and then the one old guy who was trying to send mail, and the nice guy who came to buy a Christmas tree. And I was like, oh, well, it kind of takes away from it now. If you had gone for Deagle first, then I'd be like, comeuppance. But
So we see all these people getting maimed and whatnot and murdered, essentially. And then we have the comedy bit interlude where they're in the bar.
Yeah, they just
and we get so many references. We get so many references and so many tropes because we have our film noir gremlin who's just sitting alone with the fedora or a trilby on, and
a stupid fucking puppet one
that's trying to talk to him like it's like Casablanca or something. Our Flashdance reference, if I recall correctly.
Yeah, she's wearing the
leg warmers.
The leg warmers of classic 80s leg warmers. They have them. They did them playing poker. The guy was cheating at poker. He gets shot.
So
because this woman rats him out. It's a lot of little things like if you've seen a lot of movies, you'll recognize every little that's cute. They're obviously making fun of a lot of old 50s movies.
I think that's the point. At this point, I think this is where it really comes into its own word. So it had those subtle homages throughout the earlier parts of the film, but you would have just accepted them as just like, I mean, they're tropes at the time.
And not even noticing them until later.
Yeah. And then I feel like the bar scene is really there just like, oh no, we're going to 11 now.
Yeah.
So you know where we're going.
But I liked it.
No, I
like that they did. That's the thing. It's just like it's not like it was a bad thing. I thought it was really funny and kind of a nice break between we're killing all these people, killing, and then it's just like, there's this funny scene. Yeah, I mean they're driving the girlfriend crazy in the bar, but they're not hurting her really. They're just kind of scaring her, and they basically turn into frat boys and are just drinking the beer from the tap, smoking heavily.
Which they can get wet by, apparently. Around.
Yeah. Alex has a serious problem with this. Well, I mean, because it's...
Well, he does an eyedropper of liquid on him.
Yeah.
That's when we get the one that they test on. And so it's just
it's not really that too much consistency.
Beer has water in it.
And obviously they're eating and drinking all night. So.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it's really funny, but finally, the girlfriend gets fed up and finds out that the flash hurts them from the camera, so she just starts using the flash to drive them all out and get away. And then Billy comes and saves her. And then the car stops working, and then they have to make a run for it and run around the town.
And then it finally calms down.
Yeah,
And that's because they all ended up in the movie theater.
Yeah, and a very convenient plot device. They all decide to go watch a movie, all like 150 of them.
And there also happens to be gas in the basement. Which,
well, because they probably have a boiler.
Yeah, no, that's fair.
That's fair. Like, I mean, it's the 80s, so
yeah,
everybody had a boiler back then.
And it's like, oh no, it's in the back. It's behind the screen. It's like, how do you know that?
But yeah, before we get to that, let's get to the girlfriend's story of why she hates Christmas.
Which is also another trope.
It is also another trope. I feel like I've heard that story in another movie.
Yeah, no, it's like you know why? Well,
you know why?
It's just that really just that need for like really really dark jokes.
Yeah, but it's so weird because it's just like it kind of comes out of nowhere. She's like, "This is my worst Christmas." It's like worse than the last worst Christmas, and I was like, "Oh, I guess okay, we're gonna relive past trauma
or whatever the 80s equivalent of that was.
Yeah, past trauma.
Something with the Cure, I guess.
But like the story that she gives, because he's like, "Oh, he never came home," and then they said they couldn't find the dad for 5 days, which means he was in the chimney for 5 days, which means you didn't smell a dead body for 5 days.
Winter.
I mean, but winter, so she should have turned on the fire a little bit sooner than that.
No one uses their fireplace, so we had central heating at this point.
Everybody in this movie uses their fireplace. Literally everyone in this movie is using their fireplace.
That's fair.
And it's also like, so he didn't tell his wife that he was going to do this?
That's also, yeah.
And also, please, never jump down your chimney. That's a stupid fucking idea.
I can't remember the statistic for it, but there's a number every year.
Is there a number? Do people do this every year?
Of course there's a fucking number.
Oh my God. It's like the people in Florida with keeping their generators inside.
Did I say which ones? Which people in Florida?
The ones that keep their generators inside.
Mm-hmm.
It's like 6 to 12 deaths a year from that.
So one too many.
Yeah, obviously. But they're mostly old people. Anyway, but like...
You should fucking know better.
But like... It was such a... Like, yes, we're already dealing with like scary stuff, but then she comes with this traumatic story that sounds really half-baked.
Yeah.
And stupid, and I'm just like, what?
Considering the... Look, you have enough... The thing is packed to the teeth with tropes. And adding that one more homage to like the dark humor of the prior generation,
it's lame.
You didn't need it. You could have actually cut those two scenes out entirely. If this is supposed to make her relatable, I don't think it matters.
Well, I mean, I do understand the whole like her being like not everybody's happy during Christmas. I mean, that's fair because this town is super happy all the time. So for her being like not everybody's happy during Christmas, there is actually quite a high suicide rate. I'm like, okay, that's fair. Do a break from like. Everyone is like, it's Christmas time. Like, I mean, oh, you're going to give us the free treat. And, like, everyone's just so disgustingly happy.
Well, I mean, Miss Deagle's, like, a parallel to
she's so grinchy.
But she's a parallel of It's a Wonderful Life.
Yeah.
That's the point, because she's the banker, essentially.
Yeah.
That's also in A Wonderful Life.
Yeah.
So, it's like, everything is a reference in this film. And that's not bad. It knows, because it knows exactly what it's doing. So they blow up the theater. And, of course, the chief, which is surprising. Stripe. Surprisingly, went to go get candy because he wanted Milk Duds, which he asked for by name. Or, which we got paid by advertisers for.
Yeah.
And was out. So he's the one left. And so they have to go stock.
Yeah, they go stock him in the department store.
Which, all kinds of shenanigans, because now we can have all the arsenal of a department store. So chainsaws, weights, saw blades, all the fun stuff.
Yeah. I feel like this scene lasted longer than it should have.
Yeah, no.
I was like, by this point, I was kind of ready for the movie to be over. Like, don't get me wrong, I love Gremlins, I love this movie, but I was really ready for the movie to be over by that scene.
It did fulfill an itch I hadn't had in a while of melting horror. Yeah. Because when our gremlin finally bites it.
Yeah, it is gross as fuck.
Yeah.
But also, going back to your, like, oh, why didn't the beer work? He's climbing the fountain. I don't know if you guys know this, but the entire fountain is wet when water's falling. Yeah. He climbs to the top, and that's when he finally, like, starts spawning things. So it's like, you had a problem with the beer, but I had a problem with him actually touching the water fountain.
It didn't even need to be running. Like, they just did it as a thing so they could highlight it a bit more. Gizmo pseudo saves the day because for some reason he found a small, quote-unquote, what is legally not represented to be Barbie, car that he could drive around at full speed.
Barbie is very, very stingy about giving those rights.
It's just fair, I guess, unless it's being portrayed positively.
Yeah.
Which is funny because Toy Story 3 just basically made
her psycho.
Which is not wrong, but anyway. Gizmo kind of saves the day because he somehow manages to ramp it GTA style and get the
Flies.
blinds,
Yeah, flies into the blinds.
which nukes
And
him.
then we meet the greatest flaw in the Gremlins' plan of whatever they were gonna fucking do, which was
Daylight?
sunlight, daytime. It's like flaw in your plan. Sunlight is a thing. So everything wraps up nice and tight in a bow, and then they're watching it on the news about the massacre in the town, and then Mr. Wing shows up again. You weren't ready for this responsibility.
But maybe someday.
No, maybe not. It was just like obviously they're
That's like,
prepping for the sequel.
Yeah, but people are dead.
Yeah, a lot of people are dead.
There's a lot of people are dead. There's no someday.
Like that town, half those people are.
I do appreciate the Leave It to Beaver type of aw shucks.
Yeah.
Basically, because it's just like, oh, you several people are dead, but oh well. Like it's so, oh god.
Yeah. So.
But yeah.
But also, Gremlins 2 is actually I enjoyed Gremlins 2. I thought it was hilarious.
I don't remember anymore. But
really?
No, it's been too long.
Greta Gremlin? You don't remember Greta Gremlin?
Vaguely. Anyway.
Just like,
final thoughts?
Final thoughts. I really like the movie. I definitely watch it, if not every year, every 2 years or so. So I enjoy it. I like it. I think Gizmo's really super adorable, and it makes me smile every time I watch it.
If it's on for a lark, I'll watch it. But otherwise, like, I will never go actively seeking this film out.
I don't think I've ever owned it, but I do. Like, if it's on TV, I'll watch the whole thing.
Same. It's like I'll keep it on as idle noise, but I don't think I'd actually go and actually seek it. Like, it's not a bad film by any means. Like, it is, but it's definitely a product of its time. Which is kind of the danger you run when you make your movie on mostly tropes. I mean, you're wrong. I wasn't born yet, but I grew up with enough older television and older cinemas, older films that I did get a sizable amount of references on it. But at the same time, it's just like, it's very much a product of its era, and it's really difficult to separate the film from that because most of the jokes are relying on that. To the point, because that's kind of the whole point of the film. And I guess that's probably my biggest problem with it. But other than that, like, it's still good for a lark because you'll miss out on the undercurrent. But there's still a good comedy bent that goes with the rest of it on there. You won't get the individual references, but you might still have fun with it. So give it a watch. Otherwise.
Yeah, I recommend it. Definitely.
Yeah. We're going to take a brief break, and we'll be back with...
Krampus.
Woohoo! And we're back.
Welcome back.
With Krampus, 2015. So one of the most recent films, actually probably the most recent of films we've ever reviewed.
No, because Chronicles 2010.
So you just proved my point.
Yes, I did. You said, why was I thinking 2005? Sorry.
Yeah.
I don't know. I thought you said 2005 for some reason.
It's okay. So 2015. So this is fairly recent.
I've been drinking.
By the way, we're usually not sober when we do this. You can tell when I'm sober.
Really? Because you get really wordy when you're...
I'm wordy all the time.
I know. That's more so.
Anyway, so Krampus. It's funny because, like...
Classified as a dark fantasy comedy horror film.
That's correct. That's pretty apropos.
Yep. That's exactly what it is. Our opening scene is the best fucking opening scene ever. It's just like the song, the most wonderful time of the year while people are fighting during Black Friday.
As is tradition.
And nearly strangling each other. And it's like, America.
So it's like people suck, and that theme continues into the the opening of meeting the families that are all pricks to one another, but ultimately kind of come together towards the end, as it were. Yeah,
so, okay, I'll break down the families for you. So you have Max, the kid who still believes in Santa. There's in every movie that we watched, it's always the kids who are like, you still believe in Santa Claus? You fucking baby. When it's just like, I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. Like, why is everybody so offensive to people who believe in Santa Claus? Like, just let it go. You believe in Santa. Okay, that's fine. Cool. I'm going to continue my life as I did before. So he still believes in Santa, and just like, oh, the spirit of Christmas and stuff. And then you have the mom who she's trying to have some control in her life, but just things are just not happening, and she's breaking down. And it's not a slow descent. She's breaking down pretty fast during this Christmas.
They brought the aunt we don't like to deal with.
Yeah, and then it's you have the dad who he's trying to be the good supportive dad, but it's just like it's not working. Like nobody's listening to him, and it's like the person who comes off as everybody think they're soft, but really it's just he's just trying to be understanding and a peacekeeper. But when a male does it, they're seen as soft. So, why don't you just man up? This is like, but he's just trying to be kind of a peacekeeper, and it's also not working. Yeah. You have the sister who is just into her phone and only thinking about her boyfriend and being like, whatever, stupid kid things. Yeah. So all the tropes of the family. And then you have the redneck cousins. God, it was so bad. Alex, it was so funny about watching with Alex. He's just like, I can't do this.
I was like, I don't know if I can watch this again because it's all cringe comedy in the beginning
because they're so redneck.
Like I don't know honestly how I got through the beginning of this film, both this time and the original time I watched this. I was sober last time. The first time, maybe. Well, I think I had 2 monitors then.
Oh, maybe.
So I may have been using it as
a background
thing, and then I ended up getting into it. So I may have breezed through the cringe part because I hate fucking cringe comedy.
Well, I watched it when it came out. It was on TV, so commercials.
So it helped break it up.
Yeah.
Fair enough. So it's because it's not. I wouldn't call it cringe comedy, I guess. It would probably be more just like, it's just cringe scenarios where it's just like, you feel bad for people because they're just taking the piss out of one another, but not in a way that's just like...
Yeah. I mean, the thing is, like, so it's the mom's sister.
Mom's sister's husband.
Yeah, the mom's sister husband who's, like, super, like, stereotypical redneck Republican, who he keeps, like, guns everywhere in his truck. He drives a Hummer that he's named Lucille.
Lucille!
Yeah, they have 2 daughters who I guess the dad really wanted sons because they're just raised as what Hollywood thinks that butch lesbians are. Yeah. Then you have the son who's pretty much, he seems brain dead.
Yeah.
Yeah, and there's a joke that the sister makes when there's this like, what'd you ask Santa for Christmas? And because Max is trying to make conversation, but he's just like sitting there like breathing through his mouth. And then this is just like, dialysis? Like, ask for dialysis, which I was just like, dialysis is for kidneys, not for brain damage, which is what this child seemingly has.
Yeah, like he is, wow.
Yeah. And then they have the baby that they keep forgetting and handing off to someone.
Baby for stakes, I guess.
Yeah, the baby. I don't know why the baby was in there to up the stakes, but because the family kept forgetting about the baby, we kind of forgot about the baby.
Or to make us feel that less is going to happen. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
But everyone's crap, and Max is put out by the family eventually, like where he's like, I'm so sick of all your crap. I just wish it would go back to the way it used to be. Like it used to be fun when he was younger, and so he makes a wish.
Yeah.
Or rather, he's like...
But, like, the way it happens, like, it's really sad the way it happens, because he writes this letter to Santa, and the butch girls, like, steal it out of his pocket and read it to him. And it's really thinking they're just gonna read, like, oh, I want a puppy, or something like, they think but it's actually a really heartfelt letter, because he's not asking for, like, toys or anything. He's just saying, hey... Like, I want my parents to fall back in love. Like, I want to spend time with my sister again. Like, I want my aunt and uncle, like, I know they're in hard times. I want them to have some success. Yeah. And he's asking for things that are like, wow, these are really heartfelt things to ask for. And it makes, you have a moment where, like, everybody feels really bad that they're, like, and even the girls who are reading out the story feel bad because they just intended to embarrass him for reading like, oh, a kid's letter, but it was just things like, I just want my family to be happy and I want to have a good Christmas with them. But then he also put something like the dad, he's like, clearly the dad wanted boys. And then she's like, oh, like, screw you, dad didn't want us to be boys. I was like, really? Because it seems like he did, because he's raising you to be very boy. Like, and, there's like, yes, true, they could have been They should have just came out that way. Like, we like boy things. But he encourages it to a, like, really strange degree.
Random Greco-Roman wrestling.
Yeah, like all the wrestling, all the football references, all the hunting things, and like all the it's really strange.
So Max ends up cursing his family because he tears it. He has a moment of reconciliation, or he has a moment where he's contemplating sending the letter to Santa, and then he's just like, you know what, fuck this, tears it up, throws it to the wind, and it goes into the sky, and this is where we end up leading into the dark portion.
But yeah, so they wake up and there's been a huge blizzard the night before.
Power's out.
And yeah.
Cue the DHL guy. Thank you for sponsorship.
Yeah, DHL
makes delivery.
And he makes the comments like, must have been the guys in brown. It's like, you could have just said the other guys.
No, we can't.
It's like, why did you have to say the guys in brown? It's not just US. It's not just UPS. Like, FedEx also delivers.
Yeah, but we got to throw shade at them specifically.
Yeah, because like a bag of a very distinct Santa's bag of presents gets dropped off at the door, which is foreshadowing to obviously like
some shit's gonna come out of that.
Shit's gonna come out of that bag.
So yeah, power goes out. There's like the daughter, Max's sister, ends up trying to go to her boyfriend's house,
which is another thing I have an issue with. The fact that they.
It's a blizzard. You would never let her out.
It's a blizzard. One, it's a power outage. Also, it's like, this is not just like, oh, it was snowing, now it's like, now everything's shut down. Like, it is still snowing like crazy. And she wants to go visit her boyfriend, who earlier in the night he was talking about, oh, I'm spending Christmas with my bong and stuff like that. I mean, the parents don't know that, but still, it's just like, the dad is just like, oh, just let her go. And I was like, my father would not be cool with that. I was just like, and here's the thing, my dad is a pretty chill dad, but if I was like, I want to go out into a blizzard to visit my boyfriend, my dad would be like, the fuck you want?
Nope.
My mom would be like the one like, kind of let her go, but in a blizzard, no. So yeah, the daughter goes out. Obviously,
enough time passes, and then
she gets attacked.
We get a Dark Souls boss.
Yeah. Oh, and this is where I love the job that the sound people did in this movie. The sounds that they did for Krampus and all of the tense moments, like I felt really even like. This maybe, I think this was like the third or fourth time I've seen this movie, but I still felt really tense and was like covering my eyes because of the buildup of the for the jump scares and stuff. And the sounds that Krampus makes, like when he's moving around, like the heavy breathing and the stomping and the chains that he makes. The sound department did a really good job on this movie.
Really good mixing. Like everything is subtle where it needs to be subtle. Although there are some like funny ones, but that's kind of the point.
Yeah. You need to break it up somehow.
Yeah,
this is going to be comedy.
Yeah. Well, considering when they do it last. But anyway. So yeah, she walks through. She's like, things are getting dark. She runs into the DHL man's van with a frozen DHL man inside.
Who looks like he looks scared to death, like the girls from the rain.
He looks like he was flash frozen.
Yeah.
And then we see like everything gets darker than normal. And she sees the silhouette of the Krampus on the roof, and it starts running across the roofs of the houses, running to her. It
freaks her the fuck out.
Yeah, I love that shot, and I think I screenshotted it at one point on my last computer, just because like I like that background.
It's a great shot.
It's a great shot, good composition, and it's also like. I was like, am I watching a Dark Souls boss?
Yeah, it's just like the cinematography buff in me was just like, this is such a great shot. I love it. It's so good.
It's just fun.
Yeah.
So if enough time passes, and they're just like, well, where the fuck is she? It's too dark. It's getting night. Or it's like, it's darker than normal.
Well, the thing is, like, they're very slow to start thinking about this, because I'm just like, she's not back in, like, 2 hours, and he's down the street. I'm freaking out. I'm going after her. But it's a very good transition. It's an obvious transition between, like, because when he woke up, and then it was maybe a couple hours, and she was like, I'm going to go visit him. And then it's black as night. They're sitting in front of the fire, like everything is completely dark, and they're like, "Oh, maybe we should look for her." Like, what?
Yeah. So supportive dad and redneck dad. I guess I hate saying that term. And
Republican dad.
Stereotypical Republican dad. Go out to investigate on there, and it's just like, this is unnerving. And they end up going into one of the houses nearby, and they see like was there a gas explosion or something? Like they because they go into like and
Yeah.
they go into his house and it's like the boyfriend's house and it's like something's gone wrong. They go back out and they hear screaming.
Yeah. And they think it's the daughter, which I mean it could have been.
Yeah.
They do the movie does a lot of playing around with a person who has been taken or whatever, but it's luring everyone else with the sounds. So I think it was a moment they were just trying to lure them. It wasn't like, oh, we got the timing messed up. I think they were generally like luring the dads with the scream. So they, of course, they go after the sounds because they think it's the daughter, and then something's in the snow. It never really gets revealed what the creature is that's going through the snow, which I kind of like. I kind of like that better.
Saves design.
Yeah.
Also
saves on money for the design.
They might have had something and just never like we don't have the budget for it. It's like we can just
but
cut
that's
away.
Fair.
And it's like I dig it. I'm fine with it.
Yeah.
There's so much good design everywhere else. It doesn't matter.
Yeah. So it's like chasing them and takes the Republican dad under.
Gets his leg for a bit. They managed to pull him off.
Yeah.
He had guns, of course, because of course he did.
Yeah. Was it a Desert Eagle? That's supposedly the wife's gun.
Yeah, that's okay.
Yeah.
Anyway, the Deagle.
Yeah.
Takes it, manages to save him, and they get back to the house, and he's freaking out. And, supportive dad is just trying to keep everyone just like calm. It's like, could you not?
Yeah, don't do this in front of the kids. Maybe not talk about this in front of, because redneck dad's freaking out. But he's like, maybe not talk about this in front of the kids. But the kids are already like, well, we're curious, as kids are wont to do. Be super curious. Like, adults are freaking out. Let's find out why. They want to go out and save the daughter, but they make this point later. I think the dad says it when
we need an escape plan.
Yeah, the redneck dad was just like freaking out. He's just like, we got to go out there and find them. But he's like, we have 4 other children in this house. Like, I know you want to go out and save your teenage girl, but we can't all go. Like, we need to stay here and protect the other children. Because something's going around killing people in the neighborhood and it attacked you. We have children in this house.
Yeah.
But like, I don't know. It's they kind of forget sometimes, like, we got to go out and save Beth. But I was like, you still have 4 kids in the house. Somebody's got to stay here. You can't all just go out.
Yeah. They end up they try to leave again
to get the snowplow.
They
make a plan to go get the snowplow. They try to leave again, and something happens again. Like now the presents in the house are starting to freak out.
They end up boarding the doors. Grandma ends up telling her tale.
Yeah, telling the tale of Krampus, which is a nice little cut to the paper animation style. And
where she lost her family to the Krampus because she was full of resentment and she wished for it.
But it was the occupation.
Yeah, it was like West Germany.
Yeah, West Germany, the occupation.
I assume as much, but it's just like
because they were handing out rations.
But that would have put her.
They don't say how old Grandma is. She's pretty old.
Yeah.
But they never really.
Yeah, but that wasn't.
But it's an implication.
I guess, but it's not that long ago.
Yeah. But they do imply, because they're showing rations and the family is fighting over it, and the grandma's parents ended up ripping up her doll Christmas Eve, so she just wished her parents were gone, and then Krampus came and killed the family and left her as a story to pass on, and she never told anybody else that her family all died, and from Krampus motive, I guess the entire freaking neighborhood too. Yeah,
no kidding.
She never really,
or at least one hapless DHL guy.
Yeah. Well, no, they destroyed the houses too.
That's true, and that gingerbread gingerbread was stabbed, so there was a struggle.
Yeah. But the son got pulled up the chimney.
Oh yeah, that was
chimney it. Because Grandma said don't let the fire out. They all fell asleep, and then the battery on the iPad died, so they had no electricity anymore in the house. Mm. So the son got pulled up through the chimney, and as they were trying to pull him back, and the wife saw the gingerbread man and was just like, and you can see on her face, she was just like, I don't know what I just saw, but
that shouldn't exist.
That shouldn't exist. And she has that look on her face, like, okay, I might be going crazy, but it's also because they were pulling so hard on the kid, and she was the one with her hands on it. But I mean, I commend her for holding on to that kid for so long, because he was kind of heavy looking.
Yeah.
And And so they lost the kid, and she's freaking out. So it's like you lost your nephew and your daughter. She's having, and she's already on the breaking point. It's like that's where she has her meltdown. She looks crazy because she's covered in soot and her hair is all messed up. And that's when Grandma tells the story. Then Republican dad freaks out and it's just like, I'm gonna go find him.
You don't believe this horseshit?
He's like, you can't, like, there's a baby in this house. Yeah. Your baby. Yeah. Like, let's calm down and think of something. But then, and then that's when
they tried to formulate a plan, but then
the toys
come
are
to life
in the house
from the sack that we had seen earlier.
Took one of the girls.
Great design. Terrifying design.
Oh my god, the toys were so fucking scary.
A Jack in the Box snake.
A Jack in the Box snake that has a mouth
like the Predator
that opens. Yeah, basically like has the Predator mouth that
the
opens
trifold
up.
jaw.
Yeah.
Top jaw and then two lower jaws that like.
And like
out.
when we see him for the first time, he is swallowing one of the twin sister, and it's just like. Oh, and once again, sound is doing a really good job with like making it seem like she's being swallowed.
I honestly don't have much notes on this one, if only because like I was so enraptured. With,
same here. I don't have a lot of notes because I was just really into it.
Yeah, it is a wonderful visual spectacle. Like throughout that entire part, like the design is amazing.
I couldn't keep my eyes off the screen. Like my eyes were just glued to the screen. I have no notes for that part.
It's really not scary. Because it shows everything too fast on there. There's some like little bits throughout the film that are kind of like
there's a couple jump scares and stuff because and the music build up and stuff.
Yeah, but it's mostly
it's mostly unsettling.
Yeah, it's mostly unsettling, but it's great at it. Like the design is great. Yeah. So we've got Jack in the Box snake that distends its jaw to devour children.
The tree angel.
The terrifying
tree angel doll. Sharpened teeth.
The dire bear.
The
dire bear teddy bear.
Oh, which looks like it inspired the Five Nights at Freddy's bear.
The robot's a little bit lame, honestly, compared to the other ones.
Yeah, the robot's a little bit lame compared to the others. And then you have the comical gingerbread man.
Yeah.
So it's just like, who I think are hilarious.
No, it's great. They're awesome.
And the dog saves the day.
Republican Dad is fighting the gingerbread men because he hears noises in the kitchen. And he ends up going through a showdown with the three gingerbread men. And he ends up lighting them on fire somehow. I can't remember how.
Yeah, he had one of the like the spray can, like the Crisco spray cans. Fire.
Yeah, and it was the cutest death of like gingerbread men
because it was like coming at him, and then the dog ate it. As it was on fire, and I was like, "Yeah, good job,
dog."
Lucille was the name of the dog or something.
Yeah. Well, she ends up getting the shotgun at some point. Oh no, Lucille.
The dog.
Lucille's.
Yeah, and ends up fighting the monsters in the wall.
Lucille's. I thought
Lucinda is the Hummer.
Oh, Lucille is the...
Yeah. I don't remember what the dog's name is, but it's really adorable because the dog's just like, what's going on? I'm just eating these gingerbread. But she fights the monsters later and doesn't make it.
Yeah. They end up fighting some more, and when the giant... they end up fighting some more, and the Jack in the Box comes out downstairs. And then... a horn is sounded, or there's a sound, and all of a sudden everyone gets quiet, and it's just like the Jack in the Box acts like, "Oh yay, it's coming!"
Yeah, and just like stops.
Yeah,
and then the freaking elves come, like Krampus's elves come.
Yeah,
and they're also terrifying.
Yeah, great design. I think it's actually they're kind of weird to think of in terms of the other parts because I think it's because I know it's a dude in a suit. Compared to the other ones.
Yeah, compared to the other ones, it's a dude in the suit. And also because especially with the Jack in the Box, I don't know, it's kind of half practical, half CG.
Yeah.
But it looks really real, so you can't really tell. Yeah. The only thing you can really tell that it's not real is the gingerbread men.
Yeah.
But everything else, it's a very good mix of practical and CG.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then when the elves come, their masks are creepy and the way they're moved. Their costumes are creepy, but it's still like you can very much be like, okay, there's definitely some people under that. Yeah. That's the only thing that's really keeping you from being terrified.
They take the baby. They take the drunk aunt.
Yeah. And she's just like the way they take her too. She's like,
we get a kazoo or something as a sound effect that whips her out of the.
Yeah, she's like, woo! And it's so out of place.
It's like, sure, why not?
It's really, really out of place. But once again, it's just like, okay, that was a good thing to break up this horror.
Yeah. So we're down to supportive dad,
The mom.
uh, grandma, sister, and one of the girls.
The redneck dad's still
Oh yeah, redneck still there. Yeah, because they are
there.
defending
And Max.
and Max obviously. So they make one more attempt. It's like, all right, this is our plan. We don't have a rescue plan. Basically, they're just gonna like try and get help. They're gonna try and get to the snowplow, try and get out until they hit town. On there, as they leave, Grandma just locks the door behind them. It's like, no.
Just like, I'm gonna
So,
stay and take that. Grandma's death is very young.
yeah. So like she wants it. She's trying to help us, and it's like, yeah, and Krampus comes for her because Krampus remembers.
Also, it's just like she would be dead weight.
Yeah.
To be completely
honest. Fair. Yeah. So Krampus remembers her, has the bell, whatnot.
And like rubs her face.
Rubs her finger across her face.
I don't like when people touch me anyway.
Yeah.
But just the thought of people touching me, even when I see it in movies, I'm like,
yeah. So next we get the next 3 minutes of noble sacrifices.
Yeah, basically. So first redneck dad goes, then because he gets pulled under, then peacekeeping dad goes.
Yep, trying to shoot off the creatures, leave mom and the sister. Sister ends up getting pulled under. Mom.
No. Yeah. Oh yeah. The mom's sister. Yeah, the mom's sister gets pulled under. So the mom puts the two kids in the truck and then goes back to get the sister, but she's already pulled under. So then mom gets pulled under, and then they're in the car.
They can't.
And it's a stick because it's always a stick. Like I wrote in my notes, it's always a stick.
They can't start it, and then the elves come out and take the other girl, and it's just Max because Max is of course the originator of the wish, so he's meant to be left behind.
Yeah, as a reminder.
Yep.
But
Max ends up seeing them in the distance, taking the daughter,
and having their little party.
Yeah.
Their little revel before hell opens up.
He tries to petition Krampus with his giant horns and mono expression face that is just distended.
It's such a good design.
I do appreciate that doesn't move, honestly. Like it's just kind of under me.
His mouth is just open, like constantly open and frozen.
Like it's elongated. Like
yeah, his mouth is elongated. His face is just frozen into one expression, and he's like, it's very heartfelt because he's just like, I'm sorry, I was wrong. Just take me instead. And then you think for a moment that Krampus is like, okay, I'll take you. But then then suddenly all the elves start just laughing at him. And then Krampus laughs and is like, yeah, sure, I'll take you too.
Drops them in.
And drops them all into hell. And
then we wake up.
Yeah, wake up and it's just like, oh, it was all a dream, which I fucking hate that trope.
You used to read for Out magazine.
Yeah. I started singing. I was like, it was all a dream. We need an attention breaker. He wakes up and goes downstairs, and it's just like, oh, nothing ever happened. Everyone's like, oh, we're waiting for you to wake up to open presents. And normal Christmas morning, and it's just like, oh, sigh of relief. And then as they're opening up presents,
Max gets the Krampus
belt, and they all stop. And they're just like...
We all know what that is.
Because it's like, you can tell in their minds that they're just like, hey, that dream that we all had, it's like, that dream that I had, do you have the same dream? It's like that. It's like clearly it's just like they all thought they were dreaming and didn't really talk about it.
Yeah.
But then they see the bell and they're like, oh, that actually happened. Yep. And then we pan back to they're trapped in a snow globe in Krampus's collection.
Yep.
Which I like that ending. I mean, I don't like when movies have when really crazy shitty things happen in the movie's like, but everything's okay now. It's a happy ending.
I mean, it's a horror movie thing where it's just like where the evil continues. That always happens in horror movies. Like that. Yeah. That's kind of the undercurrent.
And this isn't like a sequel bait or anything. It's just straight up like, hey, they thought they were okay. They're not. Like all that shit did happen, and they all are just trapped here in hell forever or wherever Krampus lives and stuff. So I really enjoyed that ending. The whole like, hey, they're okay kind of fake out. I liked it. So final thoughts?
The first part is a little bit hard for me personally to get through.
Yeah, because of all the stereotypes.
Yeah, but it does actually come into its own with great design, great sound mixing, and if you can stomach the first part, the rest of it is
a great movie.
Oh God, yes. So yeah, definitely worth a watch.
Yeah, I definitely recommend it. But only if you are not super jumpy, because there are quite a few jump scares in the movie.
Jump scares are. A cat under a sweater can manage a jump scare. You can survive.
But what I mean, yeah, that's like, if you have a bad heart. But yeah, like I said, like Alex said, it's a really great movie if you can make it through the initial character setup of them all being horrible, kind of broken people. But yeah, after that, it's just pure fun.
Definitely.
I loved it.
All right. So we're going to take a brief break, and we'll be back with our final film.
Rare Exports.
A Christmas Joke.
Okay, and welcome back. Now we're going to talk about Rare Exports. A Christmas Tale.
This is being inserted into the beginning of this part of the review because this movie needs to be watched with knowing as little as going in as possible.
Yeah, actually, I would say definitely, if you have not watched it, please watch this movie before you listen to this portion. Like, definitely, this is, usually we say spoiler alert, but like, definitely, like, spoiler alert. You really need to enjoy this movie as it is before you listen to this.
So this one's been sitting on my periphery for a bit. I remember seeing it. I think on the American Netflix had it for a bit, and I think I had it on my list, but I just never ended up watching it.
I never heard this movie before. It's 2010 Finnish dark fantasy horror thriller film. And I would like to say sorry ahead of time because we're about to butcher all the names in this movie.
Look, I wrote the name of the main kid, and that's it.
Pietari.
Like, I made it a point to... I should put it phonetically in my notes, because, like, I'm going to fuck this up hard. There's Pietari and Juuso.
Rauno. Juuso is the boy.
Yeah, the other
The father is Rauno.
With the mullet. The boy with the mullet.
And then there is two other people who, I'm sorry, but I cannot.
Honestly, we probably won't even bother with names half the time. We'll probably just say Pietari and the dad.
Yeah.
Because let's not do horrible things to another language.
Yeah.
Like we did with Devil's Backbone. Anyway, you can blame
the way they talk in this movie. Like, I know Finnish doesn't sound scary. Like, I've heard Finnish people speak before, but in the movie it sounds really rough and kind of scary the way they talk. I think they do that on purpose.
I love the hell out of it. I like the way it sounds a lot. Like language.
No, I like the way Finnish sounds normally. But it's really scary in this movie.
Well, considering it's a dad scolding his kid 90% of the time.
Yeah, oh my god. Okay. So let's get it. So basically the movie is, in a nutshell,
we open up with a drilling team discover
crazy scientist doctor.
I don't remember his name.
Riley is the name.
No.
Who he's supposed to be American, quote unquote, but he's clearly a Finnish guy who speaks English.
Yeah. This is the largest burial mound the world has ever seen. It's like, all right, now just follow these rules and you'll be fine. And it's just like,
don't curse.
Which I think is interesting because like language changes.
Yeah.
So, if this thing's been around for 1,000 years as a burial mound, it's like I'm sure the language would have had a difference.
And maybe it's the intent behind it.
I guess. Whatever.
I don't know. It's kind of a weak thing, but
it's an excuse to kill someone later.
Yeah, they found the grave of Santa Claus, who, in this kid Pietari's books that he finds, who is more of the Krampus than the Santa. It's just like he comes and punishes bad children.
Yep.
Which, I mean, Europe has a lot of terrifying old tales. I believe it.
Yeah, that's fair. So him and the other boy, Juuso, end up finding out about the burial mound, and Pietari is just like, I believe this wholeheartedly. I think it's Santa. Juuso
he still believes in Santa. Period.
Yeah, Juuso just thinks he's a little kid for thinking of it that way.
Once again, we have other kids hating on kids who believe in Santa for no reason.
Yeah. He does get redeemed by the end of it.
Yeah, the thing is, he's not a bully. He's just the older.
Well, not Juuso.
Juuso's not a bully. He's just an older kid.
Yeah, that's fair.
So at least we don't have that. But the thing is, this mountain is basically, it's the border between Finland and Russia.
Yeah. Because like now we have to deal with Russian wolves because when the parents come around to it.
So as they're going to go see the guys dig up the gravesite, they cut a hole in the fence. And we are led to believe that it leaves way for Russian wolves to come in, but obviously we know later on that it's not wolves.
Yeah.
But they believe it is. So which starts a conflict in the movie. So basically, Pirtari's father is a butcher,
Mm-hmm.
and I think the whole settlement they make their money from
reindeer meat.
Yeah, reindeer meat, and they make their food basically from reindeer meat. So we find conflict in the fact that
they set up their trap, and then it's like only 2 reindeer came by. They're like, "What's going on?" So they go to where they go to where they usually chase them from, and there's just 400, I think it was.
No, it's 232,
something.
232 or 236.
They're very specific.
Dead reindeer, ravaged carcasses. That's basically their whole harvest of reindeer, and seemingly the entire
township or whatever.
The entire town's harvest of reindeer. So the dad's he's feeling this heavy conflict of he's basically, they're going to be in debt and they're going to starve.
Yeah.
Because they can't sell any meat because they don't have any meat. And they also don't have any meat to eat.
Yeah.
He scolds Pirtari a lot.
Mm-hmm.
He comes off as this kind of dad the wife is dead or gone or whatever. And he's trying to just make it work, but he's not good at it.
Yeah.
Like he's not good at being a caring father because he's very rough with his son and he kind of yells at him a lot, doesn't really pay attention to things that he's saying. To be fair though, Pirtari speaks in riddles. He doesn't give full information on anything he says.
Like when he finds the footsteps outside of his window and he never says exactly that to his
he's
father.
just like, "Were you on my roof?" He's like, were you on the roof? That's like, no. It's like, why are you asking me stupid questions? Like, are you sure? Like, why are you asking me stupid questions? Like, okay. But he never says, there are footprints on my roof from a human being.
Yeah.
Which is like, I feel like that would have made your dad turn around and pay attention and be like, wait, what?
Yeah, no kidding.
So, Pirtari kind of builds up the suspense of, because he just speaks in riddles all the time. He Dumbledores it.
Well, he speaks like a kid would sometimes, because they'll ask the roundabout questions sometimes rather than
because they don't want to. Because he kind of tiptoes around his dad, because his dad seems like he's on a hair trigger. But at the same time, it's just like, if you had just said there were footsteps on my roof, I'm pretty sure your dad would have turned around and be like, wait, what? So because they think that it was wolves that killed 232 reindeer.
Yeah.
Like,
in a very orderly fashion.
Also in a way that they ravaged the bodies and left them there, which I'm gonna be completely honest, that's not how
they would not
predators work.
Yeah, that's not how they would. They should know that.
They should know that. But it just seems odd, and a lot of this movie is blaming it on foreigner things, because they're like, it's the Russian wolves, and then when they find the he's a foreigner and stuff, and they it's a lot of undertones of them blaming foreign things. So the kids don't want to tell. Juso's like, if you tell your dad, I will beat the shit out of you.
Oh, yeah.
He basically threatens him.
Well, it's like, when's the last time you were hit? And it's like, I don't know. It's like, well, might have
he's
to
like,
consider.
tell you. He grabs his face, and it's just like, you better not fucking tell your dad.
So with all the reindeer dead, Dad ends up setting up an illegal wolf trap.
The wolf trap was the illegal wolf trap was in the beginning of the movie.
Oh, that's true. Yeah.
But he goes into the compound for the mountain, because he's angry as fuck when he sees this. So he's gonna confront them. But when they get there, there's no one on the compound. There's no one at the mountain, no one at the dig site. It's just a bunch of paperwork, and it looks like everybody just left in a hurry.
Yeah. And a massive hole.
Yeah, and a massive hole, basically. And they say they refer to it as a hole to hell. That's how far they dug. But yeah, so
they don't know what to do with themselves, and they go home to sulk a bit and try and figure things out. And the trap gets activated.
Yeah. But before that, we end up with a very sad kind of scene. Christmas Eve. So the dad makes dinner for the kid. He makes gingerbread, but he can't look him in the eye. And I was like, that's really, really sad, because it's like...
He's tearing up.
He's tearing up the whole time because, the kid just thinks that, oh, Dad, you don't like me. He's like, do you have a problem with me? The kid thinks it's his fault. Mm. Well, he thinks it's his fault because of the wolves thing. but he hasn't told his dad. But he also is dealing with the relationship of, dad's been kind of rough with me, so maybe he doesn't like me, and that's why he can't look me in the eye. But it turns out the dad he can't look him in the eye because he's in his mind, he's going through like, we owe so much money, we've lost so much money, and we don't have any food. Like, my kid might starve to death. And it's like he's having that in his head, and he can't look his kid in the eye because he's crying and he's trying to be this like macho dad, especially when the kid says the gingerbread, it tastes just like how mom used to make.
Yeah.
And I thought that was a really like sad and heartfelt scene, because at first I was mad. I was like, why can't you look your kid in the eye? Then I stopped and thought about it. I was like, he can't feed his kid. He won't be able to feed his kid for the next year. But yeah, in the morning, one of the traps go off. The first one, we don't have a lot of jump scares in this movie, but this is kind of a jump scare. I guess the kid put a bear trap in the fireplace.
Just fair.
Just in case Santa decides to come down the chimney.
Doesn't tell his dad.
Yeah, doesn't tell his dad. A piece of wood comes in and freaks him out, and the dad's like already on edge. And then they hear another sound, and it turns out an old man fell into the wolf trap, which is illegal apparently. I didn't know that until they said it in the movie.
Yeah. He his friend who normally plays Santa, funnily enough, comes by.
He calls him and tells him to come. Yeah,
come in. It's just like, it's gonna help him butcher the body, essentially, because it's like they end up finding out, still alive.
Oh yeah! Oh my god, the scene where he does it, because he's like the dad is just like, he's committed. When he's like, he's committed to his dark side. So when they find out, it's a body, and they're like, what are we gonna do? Like, what are we gonna do? Shit! Like, and the guy who dresses up as Santa is like, what are we gonna tell everyone? And the dad's like, we ain't gonna tell anybody anything. and they like, the camera pans to the saw that the dad uses to cut up bodies, and he's just like, oh, all right, what are we gonna do? So, but as they're planning to move him, the old guy he flicks his arm, and then they check him, and he's like, oh, he's still breathing. Even though he got speared in the stomach from falling through the trap.
It's like he smells something. You see that? It's because Pietare's outside the window, and
he smells kids.
Yeah, smells kids, and this alerts Dad and the friend, and Pietare, and they see Pietare running, and Dad goes to chase after, makes his friend stay behind. Pietare ends up getting picked up by the police because he flags them down.
Yeah, and the dad thinks that he's going to tell the police that he saw the body, so he's like on edge, chasing after your son, like, in his mind he's just like, oh my god, my son's betrayed me, kind of thing. But then we get to more exposition in a very clever way, because the police picks up a kid who's running by himself, and he's doing calls and finds out that
all the radiators are missing.
All the radiators are missing, and they've been calling it in, and he finds out his friend is missing, Juso.
Yeah, it's like, where's Juso? It's like, oh, he's probably upstairs. I haven't checked because his dad's just like, hasn't checked.
And in his place is a scary fucking straw doll. That there was a sack.
All the potato sacks were taken.
Yeah, all the potato sacks was taken, and there was a sack that had fallen in the pit with the same kind of straw doll that was left. And of course the adults like wave it off and like, oh, we used to do this when we were a kid, put a doll in the bed and then sneak out. And I was like, on Christmas Eve?
Like, when we were your age, we'd go out. And
I was like, you guys are like 9.
Yeah, it's like, you were 9? You were trying
to get... This kid is like, Juso is at the most 13.
Yeah, it's like, I don't think I was trying to get my dick wet at 13.
Right? But I mean, they live in the middle of nowhere and
not much else to do but fuck.
I guess, but despite the fact that we don't really see any other girls.
What we do in the hunting, the moose wrangling scene for like 5 seconds.
They're children who are covered. We don't really know if they're...
That's fair. But with those mullets?
Who friggin' knows?
Fucking Juso's mullet.
Yeah, but of course the adults wave it off and it's like, oh, say something's crazy. And Pitare's dad is trying to get him home, just trying to get out of, get away from the police officer, because he's basically sweating guilt right now.
They end up bringing Juso's dad because he speaks English, and they found a passport on the...
Yeah, that one of that guy just randomly picked up from one of the people he killed.
Yeah.
And it says it's an American passport, so he's like, okay, maybe he speaks English. But as they go back, they see the guy who dressed up as Santa, he's a bleeding ear because the old guy bit his ear off. And they're like, and I think this is really funny. I found this hilarious because he was just like, that guy just bit off my ear. He's crazy. Don't go in there. And then they say, we gotta see this.
Yeah.
Like their view thoughts like, we gotta see this and go in there. And of course, they tell Pietari to stay in the car. Pietari has not stayed in any place once.
Yeah.
Every time they tell him to stay, he just like the dad's just like, stay here. Pietari takes one more step. Like it's just he's like, do you not know the meaning of stay here?
They can't get this dude to move, but the moment Pietari comes in, he's suddenly slowly standing up.
Yeah. He's also naked, by the way.
Yeah.
He's a naked old man with a long beard.
Yeah.
And so it takes them a while, but they do figure out like this old man is gonna come after their kid.
Yeah.
Because they're like, do you know him? He's like, not really.
Yeah.
Like technically no.
Yeah.
But I think he's Santa Claus.
Yeah. The radio goes off and basically it's like, do you have the package or do you have Saint Nick or whatever?
Yeah.
And that's how they find out what they were actually digging for. They think it's Santa Claus. And so it's like, I have him. And they end up trying to sell him off.
Yeah. So the dad is just straight up like, okay,
how much money?
They're $85,000 in debt because of the reindeer. So
how much money they would have lost from the reindeer. They're like, we just want that amount. Because like the friend who plays Santa is just like, you should have asked for $1 million.
We can ask for more. Like if this dude is Santa, we can ask for a lot of money. But that is just like, I just want to pay off my debts.
Yeah. But they end up dressing him up in the friend's Santa costume.
Which I thought was kind of adorable. It's fair.
And they end up heading back to the place, or at some other meeting. No, they end up back at the place where they found the pit or whatever. And it's like, that's not Santa.
That's his elf.
Yeah. So apparently, there's a lot of those.
Yeah, there's a lot of naked old men just hiding out in the woods.
Yeah.
Who stole all these kids.
And at this point, the scientist dude or whatever gets a pickaxe thrown at his skull.
Yeah, so somebody curses. I think that's what it was. Somebody cursed because he's like, watch your language. And they get angry and curse at him. And that's when the elves attack. And while they're doing this, of course, Pietari cannot freaking stay in one place. Starts, sneaking around. And so earlier in the movie, Pietari was like, I can stop Santa from coming by taping up my advent calendar.
Yeah,
I was like,
cute.
I don't think you know how time works. So he tapes up the advent calendar to keep it from Santa from coming. And then he like takes a stapler to it and stuff. I was like, once again, it's not how time works. It will keep going. But they reference back to it. He finds what is it called? Not bunker. They find the
warehouse? Yeah,
the warehouse where they're keeping quote unquote Santa, which is once again they're keeping with the Krampus model, and it's bunker 24.
Yeah, it's just a block of ice with the same style of horns as the Krampus.
Yeah,
or in this case.
But I mean, it saves them money on effects.
No, it's great. I kind of appreciate it, even though we don't actually get him, essentially.
Yeah, we never get to see Santa. Yeah. We never get the fight, which, I mean, that's fine.
Yeah. I mean, it's not the point of the film. And, and the movie does a good job of holding its hand really close to its chest.
Yeah.
For what it's actually going to do at the end.
It's a lot of describing. And also, like I said, because the way the kid talks, like, having it be in Finnish helps, but the kid has these moments where he gets really dark in explaining things, and it's very unsettling.
Yeah.
And it's like the way he said it, he's like, he's gonna come for you. These children haven't been smacked yet.
Yeah.
They're waiting to get smacked. And like the way he says it, I'm like, oh my god. Yeah. So yeah, underneath the Krampus Santa is the sacks filled with children who are like crying and screaming, and they never take the kids out of the sacks, by the way.
Yeah, and a shitload of radiators, because that's where they all went.
Yeah, the radiators, they're trying to melt down the Santa.
Good elves.
Yeah, they're trying to melt them down.
Somehow know how modern stuff works.
Well, I mean, it's heat. They felt heat sources.
Yeah, but then knew how to hook them up.
Yeah, and then they hooked them up. And then the way they were like, okay, how do we turn off these radiators? They start kicking them.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's not how technology works.
And the stoves.
Yeah.
They had stoves in there too.
Yeah. So they just start kicking everything over.
And the elves are trying to break in, so they start throwing the stoves. And then it's like, Pietari's like, they won't leave unless the children are gone. Can you get to the helicopter? They get the Santa friend, the friend who dresses as Santa, to go grab.
Can suddenly drive a helicopter.
Yeah. It lures the other elves away with gingerbread because they like it.
Yeah, he lures them with gingerbread, and then
Gets in.
that's how they get all the kids into the sacks. Who, once again, none of these kids have been reassured that everything's going to be good.
Yeah.
They grab them in the sacks and put them in. I was like, that's what I was like, okay, I think this movie's gotten a little bit off the rails.
Yeah, and it, like I said, it does a really good job of holding its hand. It's keeping its hand to its chest, playing it close to the chest. And so Pietari ends up riding the basket or the net with all the kids in it.
Yeah, once again, this movie's gone off the rails.
To go to the reindeer
He's rambling
place.
right now.
Oh yeah, it feels like it's rambling in, honestly. And then
he's riding the sack, and I was just like, I wrote in my notes, 1, that's dangerous.
Yeah.
He's just kind of standing on the sack as it's being pulled by a helicopter. And 2, you've frozen to death by now.
Yeah, no kidding. So they end up getting back to the reindeer pen, turn on the electricity on there. Well, I'm sorry, Pietari jumps off. It's like, I can't set you down here. It's like, that's fine.
And then he does this, like, tell my dad that I was brave. And, like, falls down. I'm like, oh my god, this movie has taken a turn for like, strange comedy right now.
Yeah, it's great.
He falls, like, super, like, Christ pose as he falls into the...
Like Hans Gruber in Die Hard, like, he falls backwards.
Yeah, basically.
But he lands on the wires to the top of the mast or whatever, or to the electrical mast, and then, like, climbs down, turns it on, and we cut back to the dad, Juso's father, who had been
putting dynamite into the block of ice of Santa.
But before they drive away and detonate it, they cut off the Krampus's horn.
Yeah, and they have him in the back of the truck as like such a trophy. And he's as they're driving away, like after they put all the dynamite in with the 2, and his dad's sitting with the 2 horns. He has like such a satisfied look on his face. And I was just like, this is freaking hilarious.
Yeah.
This movie, like, it went from like really dark and you feel bad for these kids, and I'm just like, am I supposed to be laughing?
Yeah,
it's freaking hilarious.
It's great, and
it's so funny.
It ramps up to camp level like hard and fast. It's wonderful. They hit the detonator.
The dad's so like satisfied. It's like, because it's like the wind from the explosion is blowing all his hair back, and he just has this like satisfied look.
His hat goes
like,
away.
Yeah, his hat flies when he's like, yeah, I just blew up evil Santa and took his horns. What?
And then we cut back to the sun with all the elves are like in the area, but then because they don't have Santa anymore, they just kind of like they just stop.
And then making the job, he's like, I guess these elves are out of a job.
Yeah, and they end up coming back the next morning. It's just like, how much would you say a Santa is worth?
Yeah. Okay. The funny thing is, because when the reindeer were killed, the dad did this thing of he asked the Juso's father, how much are these reindeers worth? And then Juso's dad just did the math in his head. It's just like, it's worth exactly this much. So they kind of rewind back to that moment where Pietari asks Juso, how much are these do you think these Santas are worth? And they count, do the numbers and stuff, and the dad like whispers in Juso's ear, it's exactly this amount of money and stuff. And it's a cute little thing that they do.
And so you think the movie's gonna end, but it keeps going.
Yeah.
And now they're doing Santa training.
Yeah, and I was just like, oh, okay. See, this is the moment where I was like, oh, this movie is a comedy. Okay.
Yeah. And it's so I would hate this in so many other things if it just took such a turn. But in a film that has been kind of like ramping up to absurd.
It just slowly ramped up to in a way that like I didn't even notice it until we got to like the moment where he's like, how much are these Santas worth? And I was like, oh, this is supposed to be a comedy. Okay. I was like, okay, so me laughing at these moments, I don't feel bad now.
For me, it was the Die Hard fall.
Yeah, the Die Hard fall, I was just like, let me just check and see if this movie is supposed to be a comedy. This is when I started looking at the IMDb, like, how is this movie categorized? But but then when they started training the Santas, I was like, oh, okay, it's definitely a comedy, 100%.
And they're shipping them off, and that's the name of the company.
Yeah,
Rare Exports.
Rare Exports. But it's just like, to be fair, I feel like these elves are kind of immortal, but
yeah,
you just put them in a box.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, the friend who went from being Santa to driving a helicopter, now he can do a cargo plane. Now he drives a cargo
like you do.
Plane. Where are you getting these licenses from?
Where are they doing human trafficking from?
Yeah. Also, it's just like, we just ship these Santas all over the world. Don't worry about it. Just send us our money here.
I mean, if they're effectively immortal, you probably don't have to feed them.
Yeah. If you can't make money off the reindeer, why not make money
Yeah.
selling Santas? But it's the way they're training them. It's like
God.
the father's like they're pulling the father along like a kind of assembly line and like showing him like taking care of his son very obviously. Like, this is how you pat a children's head. This is how you hand them a toy. It's like, and then Pietati's there like smiling like, oh, children are happy. You're supposed to be making them smile. I was like, oh my god, this movie is taken a very strange turn.
Yeah, but it's wonderful.
It is. It's so good. I'm glad we ended this on 3 movies that I actually enjoyed.
I guess final thoughts then for this one, because we've been spieling about this
It's
one already
so
for the last
good.
bit.
This movie's so
God,
good.
yeah.
Please watch it. Oh, please watch it. It's so good.
Yeah, it's hard.
Pietati gets really, really dark, and it's so funny because he's like 7.
I'm gonna drop it. I'm gonna say it right now, and I'm probably gonna edit this back into the beginning of it. But this is being inserted into the beginning of this part of the review because this movie needs to be watched with knowing as little as going in as possible.
Because the emotional roller coaster that I went on.
The build-up
I'm so
is
glad
good.
I didn't look anything up before I watched this.
The build-up on this is fantastic.
Yeah.
Like it's just, oh man.
Yeah, usually I look the movies up before I watch it, but since this was the first time that I saw it, I was like, okay, let me just go in blind and see it. And I did not expect what was going on.
This is an amazing romp.
Yeah.
If you haven't seen it but are still intrigued and you skipped our spoiler warning that I now inserted into the beginning of this through clever editing or foresight or afterthought, please go watch it. Go watch it for yourself and enjoy the journey, because this is probably like some of the most fun I've had in a pseudo horror film that I've ever seen in a long time. We don't have it next week, do we?
Oh yeah, no. Next we are going to be enjoying time with our family for the Christmas holidays. Well, I will be enjoying time with my family.
The only reason I'm going back is because I have to sell some stuff.
Alex, not so much. I will be enjoying my lovely time with my family. And the next episode you'll hear in New Year's, and hopefully you'll hear it with a special guest if we're able to work this out properly. But next month, New Year rolling in, we're going to be doing Alex's choices of movies, which is movies that have to do with music.
Honestly, this is just one contrived excuse just to put the movie SLC Punk somewhere in here.
He wants to put one movie in and chose the whole month theme.
Honestly, even if it's just 1 week, like...
No, we're doing the whole month. We're committed to this.
Fine.
Yeah.
Right.
All right, so...
We could do a self-indulgent September. It's a long way to go. Just use that slight alliteration.
Yeah, but yeah. So
self-satisfied September. There we go.
Self-satisfied.
Anyway.
So have happy holidays, and a great New Year. And we'll see you when the new sun. Oh, whatever. We'll see you next year.
Have a Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, Happy Kwanzaa,
Hanukkah, Kwanzaa.
Festivus for the rest of us.
Yeah, Merry Festivus.
And good morning, good evening, good afternoon, good night, wherever the hell you may be. Take care.
Goodbye.